Music has never been more valuable and musicians have never been easier to ignore. Music is in every reel, film, ad, gym playlist, restaurant, cab ride, and late night scroll. But the person making that feeling is still treated like they are doing something unserious. And before you tell me about Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter and sold out Coachella tickets, let's talk about day-to-day working musicians. In the UK, nearly half of working professional musicians earn less than £14,000 a year. On streaming platforms, most artists earn less than $100 a year. If I have to talk about developing countries like India, we are screwed at levels most other countries can't even fathom. At the same time, recorded music generates over $30 billion annually. Why does so little of that money and value reach the musician? Mozart fought hard to escape being treated like hired staff and still died in debt. TLC sold millions of records and still filed for bankruptcy. Prince was one of the most successful musicians alive and still had to fight his own label to control his work and name. As a lifelong musician, both independently and commercially, this video is deeply personal to me. So let's go. Chapter 1. Before audiences, there were masters. Before there was a music industry, musicians didn't build careers the way we think of them today. They worked for someone. If you were a composer, you didn't make music and go and try and find listeners the way we do today. You found someone with money first and made music for them. That someone was usually a king, a church, or a patron, a court, or a wealthy family. They were the only ones who could pay you consistently, so your survival depended upon them. If they liked what you made, you got paid. If they didn't, you were replaceable. You weren't making music for yourself or the public. You were making music that fit their world, their events, their beliefs, and their image. Take Bach. He worked for churches and courts, writing music on demand. If he stopped producing or went off track, he risked losing his position and his job. He was respected, but he was not free. Mozart saw this for what it was and hated it. So he left the system. He was what we can call today the first truly independent musician, trying to earn directly from people through concerts, teaching and selling his work. But this life, it turns out, was extremely unstable. Income depended on audience turnout, timing and public interest. One bad concert could wipe out weeks of effort. And life did not slow down with it. He still had to pay to live, to support his family, and maintain a certain standard to just be taken seriously. So when the money went down, the pressure went up. And when he died, he was crippled with debt. And this is what it means to enter the market as a musician, where you're fundamentally acting as a business, which is kind of the model all of us musicians work on today. Instead of one person paying you steadily, your income depends on many people choosing you again and again and again, and they are free to choose someone else. Now this gives rise to the obvious question: if people don't like your music, why should anyone care or pay you? And that question does hold merit. If what you do has no demand, why should anyone pay for it? That's true in most fields. Most things fail. But that's not the point here. The real question is what happens when something does work. In most businesses, if people want what you make, you control how it is sold and keep most of the money. But in music, even when people care about what you make, musicians have never controlled how it reached the people or how they got paid for it. And as we'll see in the next few chapters, not much has changed since the times of Mozart. Chapter 2. You make the song, they own it. When recording technology finally arrived, it should have shifted power to musicians. For the first time, music could be recorded once and sold thousands, maybe even millions of times. And it didn't disappear into thin air after being performed. Ideally, it should have made musicians finally the owners of their own business. But that's not what happened. The people who ended up controlling recordings were companies. Companies with large corporate bankrolls and with business heads funding them. These were businessmen, not musicians. And these companies became the record labels of the time. Early record labels owned the studios, the equipment, the factories that pressed the records, and the networks that got music into television or radio. If you wanted your music out there, you needed them. Here's how it worked. A record label would sign an artist and give them an advance. It sounds like payment, but it's actually a loan. That money is used to pay for everything: studio time, music producers, videos, marketing, and promotion. This money comes from your potential future earnings. So when your music starts making money, the label takes their share first to recover their cost. Only after the entire amount is recovered do you, the artist, start earning anything. Now here's the key part, and it's actually pretty ruthless business if you think about it. The label usually here owned the master recording. That is the final version that people hear and fall in love with. So every time the song is streamed, sold or played somewhere, the label owns the majority of the money and you get a fraction. Corporations realized pretty early on that the real money isn't in the first release of the record. It's in everything that happens after, sometimes over years and sometimes over decades. Every time the master recording is used anywhere, the money goes right into their pockets. That's how you get something like TLC. They sold over 10 million copies of Crazy Sexy Cool, generating over $100 million in sales. But after costs, cuts and label recoupment, they were left with almost nothing. They filed for bankruptcy at their peak. Same with Prince. He wasn't broke, but he did not control his own music. His label decided when he could release music and how often. So even at the top, he was not free. And this became the unsaid rule of the 20th century. You could be famous and still not control your own money. You could be successful and still be in debt. And fans saw the success, but never the paperwork underneath that success. The palace was gone, the king was gone, and paperwork and legal took its place. Chapter 3, when music became free. Then the internet arrived in the late 1990s and early 2000s. And for the first time, music escaped physical control. This seemed like the lifeline every musician dreamt of. Before this, music lived on CDs, cassettes, vinyls. Labels controlled that entire production pipeline and the internet came and broke it. A song could now be turned into a simple MP3 file, copied endlessly at zero cost, and shared anywhere in seconds. Which meant in theory, artists could now finally have access to their own music's distribution. This sounds like a great thing, no? But it really did not play out this way. In 1999, Napster made people feel that music was for free and created the technology around it. Millions of people suddenly had access to any song they wanted and could download it for free without needing a store or a label. And the masses did not hesitate because they did not feel like they were stealing from the musicians. They felt like piracy through Napster was them correcting the system. CDs were expensive and music labels were seen as greedy, and piracy felt justified. And on the surface, it was. CDs cost $1 to make but were sold for $15 a piece at the time. But when Metallica sued Napster at the time, legally they were right. They were protecting their own ownership of the music. They wanted to control how it was released to the public and have accountability for its sales. But the people did not feel like they were stealing. They were just downloading files that could be copied endlessly. Metallica at the time became the villains of the music industry, and by the time people realized that they might have been right, it was already too late. Metallica survived, but all the musicians that came after have been suffering since. Besides reducing revenue, piracy revived the way humans thought and behaved around music. An entire generation got used to music being for free. And once something becomes free for long enough, paying for it starts to feel optional. Labels here took a hit, but as always, musicians faced the real loss. Labels adapted and merged their bottom line. And like always, the people making the music got again. And when streaming arrived, rather than reversing piracy, it just formalized it and made it legal. Now all of us pay a monthly fee, and for the price of a coffee, get access to almost all of the music ever recorded. Now think about this. Spotify pays roughly $0.003 to $0.005 per play. That means a musician needs around 250,000 streams to make $1,000 in income. And this is before splits, collaborators, or taxes. And even independent artists face the same math. No label cut, but the same tiny payout. And funnily enough, while musicians' profits were hitting an all-time low, the supply of music started hitting an all-time high. With the help of big tech, music became way easier to make and release. You no longer needed a studio, a label, or any kind of serious money. A laptop, some basic software, and an internet connection were enough. Platforms like DistroKid let anyone upload their music to Spotify for almost nothing. So the barrier to entry disappeared, which again, while sounding great on paper, created a nightmarish reality of too much music everywhere being uploaded all the time. Over 100,000 songs were uploaded daily. This is roughly the same amount of songs that were released yearly in 1989. More than 120 million tracks exist right now, and most of them almost get no plays. And every song competes with everything ever made worldwide. And in a system where supply keeps rising but attention does not, the value of each individual song keeps getting pushed down. Just basic economics and math, screwing over musicians once again. Chapter 4. The replacement of the musical middle class. In the last couple of years, the advent of fully AI generated music has made a lot of us musicians even more uneasy. And this isn't about us being averse to new technology. It's how we've seen in action that every time a new technological shift happens, the leverage and power of us musicians goes down. And AI is not replacing the superstars, not the rare musician with identity, mythology, or charisma, and a huge fan base. It's replacing everyday working musicians. Who are these working musicians, you may ask? These are musicians who survived on live sessions. They mix and produce audio tracks. They make the background music for ads and films, for podcasts and YouTube channels, music for corporate videos and background playlists, and music for brands that just need music to complete their product or brand film. This is the musician middle class. They're not famous or rich, but they're the ones making the sounds and the music that you hear daily without you noticing. And like everything else, the main people on the chopping block with the rise of AI is the middle class. This is where AI is hitting and targeting itself first. Most companies or brands are not looking for a once-in-a-lifetime genius. They are looking for usable, workable sound, a podcast intro, a small vocal hook, a temp score for an edit, or a demo vocal for an edit. This is what we call commissioned music work. And this part of the sector is being deleted faster than we can blink. AI is perfect for work that clients hate paying for. It is fast, cheap, does endless iterations, and does not ask for royalties, credit, negotiation, or payment follow-ups. For many clients, the question isn't, is this beautiful? It's just, does this solve the problem I have? And for most day-to-day users, AI does solve the problem. Really well, in fact. And before you think that I'm just ranting against innovation, please let me tell you that I use AI too. I use it to think faster, test ideas, and organize research. So this is not an anti-technology rant. The problem is not artists using tools. Artists have always used tools. The problem is companies using tools to remove artists from the equation completely. And this is where the fear of AI comes from. And I've seen it firsthand. Timelines for projects have gotten shorter. The number of collaterals and edits per project have gone up. Payouts are shrinking. And this is all the while major labels are boasting of record profits. So once again, with the rise of another new technology, we're once again asking musicians to adapt while stripping away their negotiating and monetary power. And this is why I feel so many musicians distrust AI, because it seems like another tool to make their services cheaper and hopefully non-existent. Society does not hate music. It uses music to sell products, to mourn the dead, to fall in love, to worship, and to escape boredom, and make ordinary life feel briefly cinematic. But as of 2026, I do feel that most people do not want to pay for music anymore and are okay with slop as long as it's pop. So does society hate musicians? Sometimes it definitely feels like it. If you stayed for so long, thank you so much for watching, and please let me know in a comment if you think society values its musicians. If you like the work I do here, please click join below on our community memberships and help support the channel. As a musician myself, here's a song I made recently that I'm really proud of. And if you prefer more of these talking head style of videos, here's a video I think you might really like. If you liked or felt anything, please leave a comment. I would love to connect with you.